The information provided in this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute professional marketing, legal, or financial advice. Marketing trends and platform algorithms are subject to rapid change, and the potential outcomes discussed are based on historical trends and current market projections. Results in any marketing campaign are never certain and depend on a multitude of factors including industry, audience behavior, and execution quality. Viewers are strongly encouraged to conduct their own due diligence and consult with qualified legal or business professionals before implementing new strategies or making significant investments in marketing technology. The email inbox, as you know it, is officially extinct. In 2026, the average American consumer is no longer just a recipient of messages. They are guarded by a sophisticated layer of artificial intelligence that acts as a digital gatekeeper. We have entered the era of the silent inbox. If you are still operating with a 2024 mindset, your newsletters are not just being ignored, they are being systematically deleted by algorithms before a human eye ever sees them. Shocking data from recent industry reports suggest that nearly 90% of commercial emails are now intercepted by AI-driven filtering systems that prioritize relevance and user intent over traditional subject line optimization. This is the highest barrier to entry we have seen in the history of digital communication. The game has changed from how many people you can reach to how many AI agents you can convince to let you through. We are standing at a precipice where the traditional sales funnel has collapsed, and in its place is a complex, hyper-personalized ecosystem where only the most sophisticated marketers will survive. If you feel like your open rates are stalling and your engagement is cratering despite your best efforts, it is because the old playbook is broken. Today, we are launching a deep dive masterclass into the specific unavoidable trends that are defining 2026. This video solves the most pressing problem for US business owners and creators today: how to maintain a direct line of communication with your audience in an age of total AI saturation and extreme privacy restrictions. By the end of this session, you will understand the exact architecture of the modern inbox and the step-by-step technical shifts required to stay relevant. To understand where we are going, we must first look at the historical trends that led to this moment. For over a decade, email marketing was built on the concept of the blast. You gathered as many leads as possible and sent the same message to everyone, hoping for a 2% click-through rate. Then came basic segmentation, where we grouped users by their last purchase or their geographic location. But in 2026, those methods are considered primitive. We have moved into the era of hyper-individualization. This is not just about putting a first name in a subject line. That is a relic of the past. Hyper-individualization in 2026 involves using real-time behavioral data to craft a unique experience for every single subscriber on your list. Imagine a scenario where two people receive the same newsletter from a fitness brand. User A, who has been researching marathon training, receives an email focused on long-distance endurance and electrolyte balance. User B, who just started a weight loss journey, receives the exact same email header, but the content is automatically swapped for beginner-friendly high-intensity interval training tips. This happens dynamically at the moment of open, based on the most recent data points available. Potential outcomes for brands adopting this level of precision include a significant lift in lifetime customer value and a drastic reduction in unsubscribe rates, as every touchpoint feels like a curated consultation rather than a generic advertisement. The primary driver of this shift is the total collapse of the third-party cookie. In 2026, the digital landscape is governed by stringent privacy laws that make traditional tracking almost impossible. This has given rise to the most important currency in the modern economy: zero-party data. Unlike first-party data, which is gathered through observation, zero-party data is information that a customer intentionally and proactively shares with the brand. This might include their preferences, their pain points, and how they want to be communicated with. For a US-based e-commerce store, this means moving away from aggressive tracking and toward interactive experiences. Instead of guessing what a customer wants based on their browsing history, smart marketers are using conversational pop-ups and interactive quizzes within the email itself to ask the customer directly. This creates a transparent value exchange. You tell the brand exactly what you need, and the brand promises to only send you relevant content. This builds a level of trust that was previously non-existent in the digital space. Another massive trend you cannot ignore is the evolution of interactive email, specifically the widespread adoption of AMP for email and similar technologies that turn a static message into a mini-app. In 2026, the friction of clicking a link to visit a website is the primary killer of conversions. Consumers are increasingly reluctant to leave their inbox to complete a task. As a result, the most successful campaigns now allow users to browse product catalogs, select sizes, and even complete a checkout process without ever leaving the email body. This is a technical masterclass in reducing the path to purchase. For example, a travel agency can now send an email with a live flight search widget embedded inside. The user can toggle dates and view real-time pricing directly in their Gmail or Outlook app. Step by step, businesses are integrating their back-end inventory systems with their email service providers to ensure that when a user opens an email, the prices and stock levels they see are accurate to that exact second. This prevents the common frustration of clicking a promotional link only to find the item is sold out or the price has changed, which was a major pain point in previous years. We also have to address the elephant in the room: AI to AI communication. In 2026, many high-net-worth individuals and busy professionals use personal AI assistants to manage their communications. These assistants read the incoming emails, summarize the key points, and present a daily briefing to the user. This means your email might never be read by a human in its original form. To survive this, marketers are learning to write for two audiences simultaneously. You must write compelling, emotional copy for the human reader, but you must also structure your data and metadata so that the AI assistant can accurately summarize the value proposition. This involves a much heavier reliance on schema markup and structured data within the HTML of the email. If the AI assistant cannot figure out what the offer is or why it is important, it will simply omit your brand from the user's daily summary. We are seeing case studies where brands that optimize their technical metadata saw a 40% increase in indirect engagement, where the user took an action based on the AI summary rather than the email itself. Furthermore, the tone of email marketing in 2026 has shifted toward what we call the deep newsletter. The era of the quick update, or the weekly roundup, is fading. Because consumers are bombarded with short-form content on social media, they are increasingly turning to email for long-form, high-value insights. The inbox has become a place for intentional reading. This is why we see a surge in creator-led newsletters that focus on deep-dive analysis, storytelling, and exclusive education. For a business, this means you can no longer just sell products. You must sell expertise. You need to provide so much value in the body of the email that the subscriber would feel like they should have paid for it. This builds the brand authority necessary to survive in a market where trust is at an all-time low. Historical trends suggest that as digital noise increases, the value of a trusted, direct-to-inbox relationship only grows. This is the ultimate hedge against platform volatility. You do not own your followers on social media, but you own your email list, and in 2026, that ownership is more valuable than ever before. We are going to break down exactly how to build this technical and creative infrastructure to ensure your brand remains a staple in the inboxes of your target audience for years to come. To build this technical and creative infrastructure, we have to start with the invisible layer that dictates whether your message even exists in the eyes of your consumer. In 2026, deliverability has shifted from a set of technical protocols to a complex evaluation of behavioral reputation. Historically, we relied on SPF, DKIM, and MARC records to prove we were not spammers. While those are still the baseline requirements, the 2026 inbox providers like Google, Yahoo, and the increasingly dominant Apple Mail Plus use a metric called engagement-based filtering. Imagine a marketing director in Chicago named Sarah, who manages a list of 500,000 subscribers. In 2024, Sarah could maintain a decent deliverability rate by simply cleaning her list every 6 months. In 2026, that is a recipe for digital exile. If Sarah sends 3 consecutive emails to a segment of her list that fails to open, click, or even hover over the message for more than 2 seconds, the ISP algorithms flag her sender subdomain as irrelevant. This is not a spam filter. It is a relevance filter. Once you are flagged, your emails are diverted to a background process where they are summarized by an AI but never actually shown to the user, unless the user specifically searches for your brand. To combat this, the first pillar of your 2026 infrastructure must be the implementation of a warm-up loop. This is a step-by-step process where you utilize a dedicated subdomain specifically for high-engagement content. Historical trends show that brands using their primary corporate domain for mass marketing are seeing a 30% higher rate of silent filtering compared to those using specialized engagement domains. Your step-by-step implementation begins with a seed list of your top 5% most active users. You send them content that requires a specific low-friction reply. In 2026, a reply is weighted 10 times more heavily than a click. When a user replies to your email, it signals to the ISP that a two-way relationship exists. Case studies from mid-sized U.S. retail firms show that by incentivizing a simple one-word reply in the first email of a welcome sequence, they were able to maintain a 98% primary inbox placement rate, even through high-volume holiday seasons. The second technical requirement is the universal adoption of BIMI, or brand indicators for message identification, paired with a verified mark certificate. In 2026, the inbox is highly visual. When a user scrolls through their messages, they are looking for the verified blue checkmark, or the brand logo next to the sender name. Without this, your email looks like a generic phishing attempt. The process for setting this up is rigorous. You must have your logo trademarked, and then purchase a VMC from a certified authority. Potential outcomes for brands that skip this step include a near-total loss of trust from the Gen Z and Gen Alpha demographics, who have been trained by social media to only interact with verified entities. Imagine if a user receives 2 emails offering a similar discount on a new laptop. One has the official verified logo of the manufacturer, and the other is a gray circle with a generic initial. In the high-speed environment of 2026, the human brain rejects the unverified option in less than half a second. This leads us to the concept of the human-centric signature. In 2026, the era of the faceless corporate entity is over. Data suggests that emails sent from a real person, such as Marcus from customer success or Elena the lead designer, perform 45% better than emails sent from a generic info at company name address. But in 2026, we take this further with the sender persona model. This involves creating a consistent voice that represents the brand. Let us look at a case study of a major U.S. outdoor gear company based in Denver. They stopped sending their weekly newsletter from the brand name and started sending it from a rotating cast of 3 field experts. Each expert had their own unique subsegment based on the interests of the subscribers: climbing, hiking, or camping. The emails were formatted to look like personal correspondence. Minimal HTML, no heavy banners, and a focus on long-form storytelling. By stripping away the traditional marketing aesthetics, they bypassed the mental filters of the consumer who is tired of being sold to. The results were a 60% increase in dwell time, which is the new gold standard metric. Dwell time refers to how long a user keeps your email open. In 2026, the major ISPs report this data back to your email service provider. If people open your email and close it in under 3 seconds, your reputation score drops. To increase dwell time, you must master the art of the scroll-triggered hook. This is a copywriting technique where you place a compelling piece of information or a visual reward just below the fold of the first screen. Think of it like a mini cliffhanger within the email itself. For instance, if you are a financial education platform, you might start with a story about a massive market shift in 2025, but the actual data visualization that explains why it happened requires the user to scroll down. This simple mechanical action of scrolling tells the AI gatekeeper that the content is engaging, which reinforces your deliverability for the next campaign. Furthermore, we must address the rise of the privacy vault. By 2026, many U.S. consumers use temporary or masked email addresses provided by their hardware manufacturers. When you send an email to a masked address, you are sending it to a relay. If that relay detects any aggressive tracking pixels or intrusive JavaScript, it will strip those elements out or block the email entirely. This means your traditional tracking methods are dying. The solution is the shift towards zero-party data harvesting through interactive polling. Instead of tracking where a user clicks to guess their interests, you include a 3-option poll at the top of the email. Which of these 3 challenges are you facing this week? When the user clicks an option, they are not just giving you a data point, they are actively engaging in a way that the privacy relays cannot block because it is a direct user-initiated action. This builds a profile of the customer that is far more accurate than any old-school tracking cookie. Step by step, you need to audit your current email templates. If your code is bloated with legacy tracking scripts from 2022, you are likely being penalized. The 2026 standard is lean, fast-loading, and highly accessible. Accessibility is no longer just a legal requirement under the updated ADA guidelines for digital content. It is a deliverability factor. If your email is not easily readable by screen readers or if your contrast ratios are off, the automated accessibility filters in modern inboxes will deprioritize your content. This is a technical hurdle that many U.S. marketing teams are currently failing to clear. You need to ensure every image has descriptive alt text, and that your font sizes are optimized for mobile-first viewing, as 85% of all email opens in the US are now occurring on mobile devices or wearable tech. Now imagine the power of combining all these elements: a verified brand identity, a human-centered sender, a lean technical structure, and a deep dive content strategy that maximizes dwell time. You aren't just sending emails anymore. You are managing a high-performance communication channel that operates like a private broadcast network. But there is a hidden danger that even the most advanced marketers are ignoring in 2026. While you are busy optimizing your technical delivery, the way people actually read has undergone a fundamental neurological shift. The way we process text in a post-AI world is different than it was even 2 years ago. Most brands are still writing for the 2024 brain, and that is why their conversion rates are plummeting even when their emails get delivered. This is where we move from the technical to the psychological. To truly dominate the inbox, you have to understand the new rules of AI-integrated copywriting and the terrifying reality of the automated opt-out. There is a new feature in the 2026 versions of most mail apps that suggests an unsubscribe to users for any brand they haven't interacted with in 14 days. This is a literal countdown clock on your relationship with your customer. If you don't know how to beat that clock, your list will vanish before the year is out. In the next section, we are going into the specific psychological triggers that prevent the automated unsubscribe and the 3 types of content that the 2026 consumer finds impossible to ignore. We will also reveal how to leverage the new predictive intelligence features that are now built into every major email platform, allowing you to send your message at the exact millisecond your customer is most likely to be looking at their phone. This is the difference between being a noisemaker and being a necessity. If you think you know how to write a subject line, wait until you see what the data says about the invisible keywords that are currently triggering the new 2026 spam filters. The 2026 spam filters have evolved from simple keyword blacklists into complex semantic intent engines. Historically, you could avoid the junk folder by simply stripping out words like free, cash, or urgent. But today, the AI-driven gatekeepers at major providers like Google and Outlook are looking for what we call syntactic saturation. This is a technical pattern where your email uses a high frequency of persuasive or sales-heavy language that doesn't match the historical conversational tone of your brand. For example, if your brand usually sends educational content and suddenly shifts to a high-pressure sales sequence, the AI flags the sudden shift in sentiment as a potential security risk or low-value intrusion. In 2026, the invisible keywords aren't just single words. They are phrases that signify aggressive intent. Terms like final notice, special offer for you, and click here now have been replaced by more natural, context-aware phrases. Potential outcomes for marketers who continue to use high-pressure legacy language include a total suppression of their sender reputation score within 48 hours. To navigate this, you must implement a strategy called relational copywriting. Let us look at a case study involving a premium coffee roaster based in Seattle. In early 2026, they noticed their open rates dropped from 35% to 12% over a single month. Upon auditing their campaigns, they found that their use of FOMO-driven subject lines was triggering the new 2026 deceptive intent filters. The AI gatekeepers were cross-referencing their claims of limited stock with their actual website inventory data, which is now possible through deep link scanning. When the AI saw they had thousands of bags in stock but the email said only 10 left, it flagged the email as deceptive. The fix was a step-by-step shift to authentic, data-backed communication. They started using subject lines that prioritized utility over urgency, such as the roast profile for your favorite blend has changed. This led to a recovery in their deliverability because the content was deemed high value and non-manipulative by the filtering algorithms. This leads us to the critical concept of writing for 2 audiences, the human and the AI assistant. Imagine if a professional in Chicago named Alex uses an AI-powered inbox manager. When an email arrives, Alex doesn't see your beautiful HTML design first. His AI assistant reads the email and generates a 3-line summary on his lock screen. If your email is buried in metaphors or flowery language, the AI summary might say, "Sender is talking about the weather and generic success." Alex will swipe left and delete it. To win in 2026, you need to master semantic density. This means placing your most important, data-rich information in the first 100 words of your email body. Step by step, you should structure your emails with a clear summary header in the metadata. This isn't visible to the human, but the AI assistant picks it up instantly. Think of it as SEO for the inbox. By providing a clear, machine-readable value proposition, You ensure that when the AI summarizes your message for Alex, it says, "This brand is offering a 15% loyalty discount on the specific software you researched yesterday." That is a message Alex will actually open. Now we have to talk about the 14-day clock. In 2026, the major mobile operating systems have integrated a feature called the automated opt-out. If a user has not interacted with a specific sender for 14 days, the OS provides a prominent pop-up asking, "Do you want to unsubscribe from this sender? You haven't opened their last 4 messages." This is the most dangerous development in the history of email marketing. To beat this clock, you must move away from the traditional weekly newsletter and toward a micro-engagement strategy. Imagine if Alex receives a standard email from a fitness brand once a week. He is busy and ignores 2 in a row. By the 3rd week, his phone suggests he unsubscribe. To prevent this, the brand should have implemented an engagement reset. This is a short, text-based email triggered on day 10 of inactivity. It doesn't try to sell anything. Instead, it asks a simple, high-interest question. "Alex, are you still focused on marathon training or have you switched to strength goals?" This requires a one-tap response. That single tap resets the 14-day clock and tells the operating system that the relationship is still active. Historical trends show that brands using these engagement resets have a 50% lower churn rate than those following a static sending schedule. The next pillar of 2026 success is predictive intelligence and send time optimization 2.0. We are no longer talking about sending an email at 10 a.m. because that is when people are at their desks. In 2026, the leading email platforms use real-time behavioral signals to determine the exact millisecond to deliver your message. Let us look at a case study of a meal prep service in California. They realized that their high-income target audience was most likely to engage with food-related content when their biometric data, synced via wearable tech, indicated they were in a state of low focus or high hunger. While you as a marketer don't have direct access to that biometric data, your email platform's AI does. By using predictive intelligence, the brand's emails were delivered to users like Alex exactly when he was finished with his workout or during his commute home. This resulted in a potential increase in conversion rates of up to 30% compared to standardized batch sending. The step-by-step implementation for your business involves enabling AI-driven delivery windows, where you give your platform a 24-hour period to find the optimal moment for each individual subscriber. Furthermore, we are seeing a massive shift in how the 2026 consumer perceives value through the lens of significance over scarcity. For decades, we were told that telling people something is running out is the best way to get a click. But in 2026, the American public is exhausted by artificial scarcity. They are looking for significance. Does this message matter to my current life stage? If you are a real estate firm in Austin, sending a generic market update is useless. But if you send an email titled "How the new zoning laws in your specific neighborhood will affect your property value," that is significant. This requires a deep integration between your CRM and your email platform. You need to be pulling in external data points, news, weather, local economic shifts, and weaving them into your copy dynamically. Imagine if the email Alex receives changes its lead story based on the current weather in Austin. If it is raining, the subject line focuses on indoor activities. If it is sunny, it focuses on outdoor events. This level of hypercontextualization is what separates the elite marketers from the noisemakers in 2026. But even with perfect timing and significant content, there is a technical trap that is currently destroying the reach of thousands of US businesses. It is called the interaction tax. In 2026, every time a user marks your email as read without clicking or replying, it subtly lowers your future reach. The inbox is now a competitive marketplace where every pixel of attention is taxed. To thrive, you need to understand the new mechanics of visual AI and how your images are being read by the mail apps themselves to determine your category. If your images look like traditional banner ads, you are headed for the promotions tab or worse. But what if your images were actually dynamic, real-time assets that updated every time the email was opened? In the next part, we are going to dive into the world of generative visuals and the specific HTML5 tricks that are bypassing the 2026 image blockers. We will also explore the rise of video in email, which has finally become a reality for 90% of the US market. If you think you know how to use video in your marketing, you are likely missing the most important structural shift in how video data is now processed within the inbox. This is the key to achieving those elusive 50% click-through rates we are seeing in the latest case studies. Reach is only half the battle. The other half is what happens in the 3 seconds after the open. In those first 3 seconds, the battle for attention is won or lost not in the mind of the consumer, but in the GPU of their device. In 2026, the visual processing layer of the modern inbox has become a sophisticated judge of intent. When an email is opened, the mail client immediately scans the image-to-text ratio and the semantic meaning of your visuals using a process called visual AI categorization. If your primary image contains high-contrast text overlays that resemble a 2022-era promotional banner, the system automatically flags it as commercial noise, often collapsing the images by default to save the user from visual clutter. To overcome this, the most successful US brands have transitioned to generative visual assets. These are not static files sitting on a server. They are dynamic, real-time renders created at the moment the email is fetched from the server. Imagine a consumer in Seattle named David who follows a high-end furniture brand. When David opens an email at 8 a.m. on a rainy Tuesday, the header image isn't a generic photo of a sofa. Instead, the brand's server detects David's location, the local weather, and his previous browsing history. The AI then generates a high-fidelity image of that sofa in a cozy, dimly lit living room setting that matches the gray, rainy atmosphere outside David's window. This is the new standard of contextual relevance. Historical trends indicate that when a visual environment matches the user's current physical environment, the cognitive load required to process the message is reduced by nearly 40%. This creates an immediate psychological resonance that static imagery simply cannot replicate. Potential outcomes for businesses utilizing this generative approach include a massive spike in dwell time, as the user feels an uncanny, personalized connection to the content. The technical execution of these generative visuals relies on a sophisticated handshake between your email service provider and a real-time image rendering engine. Step by step, the process begins when the mail client requests the image URL. That URL contains a unique identifier for David. The rendering engine queries your CRM for David's recent data points, pulls a base 3D model of the product, applies the environmental lighting based on David's local weather API, and flattens the result into a lightweight WebP or AVIF file in milliseconds. This ensures that the image is crisp, modern, and perfectly tailored to the moment of consumption. In 2026, if your images are the same for every subscriber, you are essentially broadcasting in black and white while your competitors are using 8K resolution. Beyond static images, we have finally reached the holy grail of email marketing: native video in email. For years, we relied on animated GIFs or fake play buttons that linked out to a landing page. In 2026, the widespread adoption of HTML5 video support across Gmail, Apple Mail, and Outlook has changed the landscape. You can now embed a silent play, high-definition video directly into the body of the email. However, the structural shift in how this video data is processed is what matters most. Modern mail apps do not download the entire video at once. They use a stream-on-demand architecture similar to social media feeds. This means your video must be optimized for what we call the zero buffer open. Let us look at a case study from a major US automotive company. They launched their 2027 electric vehicle lineup using native video in email. Instead of a long 4-minute commercial, they used a series of 6-second microvideos that were triggered as the user scrolled. As the user scrolled to the performance section, a video of the car accelerating began to play silently. As they scrolled to the interior section, a 360-degree pan of the cabin started. This created an interactive, cinematic experience that kept users inside the email for an average of 45 seconds, a duration that was unheard of in the previous decade. By keeping the video segments short and using highly efficient codecs, they maintained a light file weight while delivering a premium experience. The step-by-step key here is the use of a content delivery network that can serve different video resolutions based on the user's connection speed, whether they are on a high-speed home 6G network or a fluctuating mobile signal. This brings us to the psychological shift in how the 2026 brain processes information. Because of the prevalence of short-form video on other platforms, the human eye has been trained to look for movement. Static text feels dead. If you are not using movement to guide the eye, you are losing the user's focus. We use a technique called kinetic sequencing. This involves using subtle CSS animations to reveal information in a specific order. When the email opens, the headline might fade in first, followed by a brief video clip, and finally the call to action. This prevents the user from feeling overwhelmed and directs their attention exactly where you want it. Imagine if Michael, a small business owner in Florida, receives a complicated update regarding his business insurance. Instead of a wall of text, the email uses kinetic sequencing to highlight only the 3 most important changes to his policy, with a brief video of his dedicated agent explaining the impact. The clarity provided by this visual hierarchy is what prevents Michael from hitting the delete button. However, there is a technical trap known as the interaction tax. In 2026, if you provide a video or an interactive element and the user ignores it, the mail apps take note. They interpret this as a sign that your interactive content is intrusive or irrelevant. This means you cannot just add video for the sake of video. It must be high utility. If your video is just a talking head saying exactly what is written in the text, you are taxing the user's attention without providing a dividend. This will lead to a gradual decline in your visual reputation score. To avoid this, every visual element must provide unique information that is not available in the text. This is a fundamental rule of the 2026 Masterclass. Visuals are for emotion and demonstration, while text is for data and confirmation. Furthermore, we must address the rise of dark mode and high contrast preferences, which are now the default for over 70% of US mobile users. In 2026, your email must be built with fluid design principles that automatically swap color palettes and image assets based on the user's device settings. Sending a bright white email to a user who is reading in a dark room at 11 p.m. is a guaranteed way to trigger an immediate close. Step by step, your developers should be using media queries to serve specific dark mode optimized images. This isn't just about changing the background color. It is about ensuring that your product photos look natural and appealing in a dark interface. As we look at these technical and visual advancements, it becomes clear that the role of the email marketer has evolved into that of a digital experience designer. You are no longer just sending messages. You are deploying micro-applications into the most personal digital space your customer owns. But even the most beautiful high-tech email is worthless if the timing is off, or if the underlying logic of the campaign is flawed. While we have mastered the 3-second window, the real challenge lies in what happens over the next 30 days. The industry is moving toward a state of hyperautomation, where the very concept of a scheduled campaign is becoming obsolete. In the next part, we are going to explore the rise of the autonomous campaign engine. This is where AI takes full control of the frequency, the sequencing, and the actual product offers, making decisions in real time that no human marketer could ever manage. We will look at how the top 1% of US brands are using these engines to create infinite, self-optimizing customer journeys that never end. If you are still manually building your drip sequences, you are about to see why that approach is considered the greatest waste of time in 2026. The shift from human-led to AI-orchestrated marketing is not coming. It is already here, and the data on its efficiency is nothing short of terrifying for those who refuse to adapt. The transition from human-led scheduling to AI-orchestrated marketing is not just a change in tools. It is a fundamental shift in the philosophy of communication. In 2024, we were still obsessed with the campaign. We sat in conference rooms in New York or Los Angeles and debated which subject line would perform best for a Tuesday morning blast. In 2026, that entire process is considered a relic of a slower era. The top-performing US brands have replaced the campaign manager with what we now call the Autonomous Campaign Engine, or ACE. This is a centralized neural network that sits at the heart of your marketing stack, and its job is to manage the infinite customer journey. Historical trends show that the human brain can at best manage 5 to 10 audience segments effectively. An ACE, however, manages a segment of one for every single person on your list simultaneously. Imagine a consumer in Chicago named Jackson. Jackson is a tech-savvy professional who recently started a home gardening hobby. In the old world of 2024, a gardening brand would have put Jackson into a generic outdoor enthusiast segment. He would have received the same weekly tips and the same monthly sales flyers as everyone else. In 2026, the brand's ACE is constantly analyzing Jackson's digital footprint within their ecosystem. It knows that Jackson opens emails primarily on his commute between 8:15 and 8:45 a.m. It knows he lingers on photos of hydroponic systems, but quickly scrolls past traditional soil-based tools. Most importantly, the ACE monitors external data. It sees that a cold front is moving into Chicago 3 days earlier than expected. Without a single human marketer lifting a finger, the engine triggers a hyper-specific message to Jackson at 8:22 a.m. on Tuesday. The content isn't a sale. It is a localized alert about protecting his specific plants from the frost, featuring the exact hydroponic heater he looked at twice last week. The step-by-step reality of implementing an autonomous campaign engine begins with the move from logic-based triggers to goal-based orchestration. In a traditional system, you write a rule. If user buys X, wait 3 days, then send Y. In 2026, you give the AI a goal, such as maximize lifetime value or reduce churn risk by 15%. You then provide the engine with a library of brand-approved assets, including copy blocks, images, and offers. The AI then uses predictive modeling to assemble these pieces in real time. It decides that for Jackson, the best way to achieve the goal is not a discount, but a high-value educational piece. For a different user in Miami, it might decide that an aggressive 20% discount is the only way to prevent them from switching to a competitor. This level of fluidity ensures that the brand is always relevant, never annoying, and consistently meeting the customer exactly where they are psychologically. Case studies from major U.S. retail giants in early 2026 reveal that brands using autonomous orchestration have seen a 40% increase in revenue per subscriber. This is not because they are sending more emails, but because they are sending fewer, higher-impact messages. They have moved away from the quantity-first mindset and toward a precision-first model. The potential outcomes of this shift are profound for small business owners as well. By leveraging democratized AI tools that act as a mini ACE, a solo entrepreneur in Austin can now provide the same level of personalized service as a Fortune 500 company. The engine handles the heavy lifting of data analysis, leaving the human creator to focus on the one thing AI still struggles with: high-level creative direction and brand soul. Let us dive deeper into the technical architecture of these infinite journeys. In 2026, we use a concept called vector-based personalization. Every subscriber is assigned a multidimensional vector in a database that represents their interests, their buying power, their technical savvy, and even their preferred emotional tone. When the ACE prepares to send a message, it compares the vector of the content to the vector of the user. If the match isn't above a certain threshold, the email isn't sent. This is why we are seeing the rise of the silent inbox experience we discussed earlier. Users only see what matches their current state of being. Step by step, businesses are integrating their email platforms with their customer data platforms to ensure these vectors are updated in real time. If Jackson buys a hydroponic kit on the website, his vector shifts instantly, and his next email, even if it was scheduled to go out 5 minutes later, is automatically recalculated to reflect his new status as an owner rather than a prospect. Another critical component of the 2026 masterclass is real-time offer generation. In the past, discounts were static. Everyone got 10% off. Today, the ACE calculates the specific incentive required to move a specific individual. It looks at historical trends of that user's price sensitivity. If Jackson has always bought at full price, the AI might not offer a discount at all, but rather offer him exclusive early access to a new product or a free consultation. If another user only ever buys during clearance events, the AI will wait until a clearance event is live to contact them, ensuring the brand doesn't erode its margins unnecessarily. This is a sophisticated balancing act between profitability and customer satisfaction, managed entirely by algorithmic logic. However, the most terrifyingly efficient part of hyperautomation in 2026 is its ability to predict the future. We now use predictive churn mitigation. The AI can look at subtle changes in a user's behavior, like a slight decrease in email hover time or a shift in the types of links they click, and predict with high accuracy that the user is about to lose interest in the brand. It identifies this weeks or even months before the user actually unsubscribes. Once the risk is identified, the ACE pivots the entire content strategy for that user. It might move them from a sales-focused journey to a brand storytelling journey, attempting to reestablish an emotional connection before the commercial relationship dies. This proactive approach is a major departure from the reactive win-back campaigns of the past, which often arrive too late to make a difference. Imagine if you could see a dashboard that told you exactly who on your list was losing interest today and exactly what content would bring them back. That is the reality for elite marketers in 2026. They aren't guessing. They are responding to data-driven signals that are invisible to the naked eye. This leads to a much more stable and predictable business model. But there is a catch. As these systems become more autonomous, the risk of a brand losing its voice becomes real. If the AI is generating the copy, selecting the images, and timing the delivery, how do you ensure the email still feels like it came from your brand? This brings us to the next evolution in the 2026 landscape: the rise of brand soul guardrails and the new creative director. While the machines handle the execution, the human role has shifted toward defining the boundaries. You are no longer a writer. You are a prompt engineer and a brand curator. You define the emotional parameters that the AI must operate within. If your brand is supposed to be witty and irreverent, you must encode that into the ACE. This is the intersection of high technology and deep humanity. But there is one more trend that is even more disruptive than autonomous engines. It is a fundamental change in the very medium of the email itself. We are seeing the death of the flat, static message and the birth of something far more immersive. In the next part, we will explore the rise of spatial email and how the integration of augmented reality is allowing US consumers to pull products right out of their inbox and into their living rooms. If you thought interactive buttons were impressive, wait until you see how the 2026 consumer is trying on clothes and testing furniture layouts without ever leaving their mail app. The line between the digital inbox and the physical world has officially blurred. The blurring of the digital and physical worlds in 2026 is most evident in the rise of spatial email. This is not just a gimmick. It is the natural evolution of the inbox into a three-dimensional interface. Historically, email was a flat surface, a digital version of a paper letter. By 2024, we added video and basic interactivity. But in 2026, the widespread adoption of spatial computing devices and high-performance smartphones has turned the email into a gateway for volumetric content. This means that when a user opens a message from a brand, they are no longer just looking at a product. They are interacting with a digital twin of that product in their own physical space. Imagine a consumer in New York named Olivia. Olivia is looking for a new designer coat for the upcoming winter season. In 2024, Olivia would have received a high-resolution image, clicked a link, visited a website, and tried to guess if the coat would fit her style based on a size chart. In 2026, the experience is radically different. Olivia opens an email from her favorite boutique. Instead of a static photo, she sees a high-fidelity 3D model. With a single tap, the email activates her device's camera through an integrated AR frame. Olivia doesn't leave the email app. Instead, she sees the coat rendered in high definition, draped over her own body using advanced cloth physics simulation. She can walk around her room, see how the fabric moves, and check the length from every angle. This is the try-on-an-inbox revolution. The technical backbone of this experience relies on the standardization of USDZ and GLB file formats across all major mail clients. Step by step, the implementation for a brand begins with the creation of these volumetric assets. You are no longer just hiring photographers. You are hiring 3D artists and scanning professionals. These assets are then hosted on a high-speed content delivery network and called into the email via specialized CSS and HTML attributes that trigger the AR viewer. Historical trends from the early 2020s showed that AR on websites increased conversion by 20%, but in 2026, moving that AR directly into the inbox has seen potential outcomes of a 50% reduction in return rates. When Olivia can see exactly how that coat fits her before she buys it, the uncertainty that leads to returns is almost entirely eliminated. But the 2026 masterclass goes deeper. We are now seeing the integration of spatial sound within these emails. As Olivia moves her phone around the 3D model of the coat, she hears the subtle rustle of the specific high-end fabric. If it were a tech product, she would hear the specific click of the buttons or the hum of the engine. This multisensory engagement is designed to trigger the endowment effect, a psychological phenomenon where a person feels a sense of ownership over an object simply because they have interacted with it. By allowing the consumer to place the product in their physical world and interact with it through sight and sound, you are moving them from a state of consideration to a state of possession within seconds. Let us look at a case study from a premium home goods retailer in Austin, Texas. They realized that their high average order value items, like sectional sofas and dining tables, had a long sales cycle because customers were afraid the items wouldn't fit their space. In 2026, they launched a campaign using volumetric email. Every subscriber received a curated selection of 3 items based on their previous browsing history. Using the AR in email feature, customers could place a digital twin of a sofa in their actual living room. The email also included a real-time measurement tool that warned the user if the sofa would block a doorway or a walkway based on their room's dimensions. The result was a 35% increase in immediate checkouts for items over $5,000. The friction of the unknown was replaced by the confidence of the spatial preview. This leads us to the second major pillar of the 2026 visual revolution, the sovereign inbox checkout. We have moved beyond the simple buy button. In 2026, the inbox is its own e-commerce platform. Imagine a professional in Seattle named Marcus. Marcus receives an email from his favorite athletic brand about a new limited edition sneaker. Inside the email, Marcus uses the AR feature to see the shoes on his feet. He likes them. Instead of clicking to a website, he taps a button labeled Biometric Purchase. His phone scans his face, confirms his shipping and payment details from his encrypted digital wallet, and the order is placed. Marcus never left the email. He never had to deal with a slow-loading website, a cluttered cart, or a multi-step checkout form. This is a technical masterpiece of conversion optimization. Step by step, setting up a sovereign checkout involves integrating your email service provider with a headless commerce backend and a secure payment gateway like Apple Pay or Google Pay. The email itself contains the necessary tokens to authenticate the transaction securely. For the marketer, this means the end of the funnel. The email is the funnel. The potential outcomes for brands that remove these layers of friction are massive. Data suggests that every additional click required to complete a purchase in 2026 results in a 15% drop in conversion. By making the inbox the point of sale, you are capturing the impulse to buy at its peak. However, there is a technical challenge that every US brand must navigate: the weight of assets. A 3D model and spatial sound file are significantly heavier than a standard image. In 2026, we solve this through edge rendering and dynamic asset loading. The email doesn't actually contain the heavy 3D file. It contains a lightweight placeholder. The full high-resolution asset is only streamed to the device once the user initiates the interaction. This ensures that the email loads instantly and doesn't drain the user's data plan or battery, unless they are actively engaging with the content. This level of technical sophistication is what separates the elite 2026 brands from those that are still trying to send bloated, slow-loading attachments. Furthermore, we must consider the security of the spatial inbox. Because these emails are interacting with the user's camera and physical environment, privacy is a paramount concern. In 2026, all AR interactions within the inbox are sandboxed. The brand never sees the user's room. The device handles the rendering locally and only sends the purchase confirmation back to the server. This privacy-first approach is essential for maintaining trust with the US consumer. Case studies have shown that brands which are transparent about their data privacy in these high-tech interactions see a 25% higher engagement rate. But even as we master the spatial and transactional elements of the inbox, we are seeing the rise of a new kind of gatekeeper. It is no longer just the AI filter deciding if your email gets delivered. It is now the personal AI agent deciding if the user should even care. As these agents become more sophisticated, they are starting to act as personal shoppers for the consumer. They are scanning your spatial emails, comparing the 3D models of your products to the user's existing wardrobe or furniture, and making recommendations. The question for every marketer in 2026 is no longer just how do I sell to Olivia, but rather how do I convince Olivia's AI agent that my product is the best fit for her life? This brings us to the next evolution in our masterclass: the rise of the machine-readable brand. In the next part, we will explore the secret world of agent-to-agent marketing and how to optimize your emails so that they don't just look good to humans, but they are perfectly formatted for the AI assistants that now manage the lives of 60% of the US population. If you think you understand SEO, wait until you see how we are optimizing for the 2026 personal AI. The battle for the inbox is about to get a whole lot more technical. To optimize for the 2026 personal AI, we must first accept that the consumer is no longer the primary reader of your emails. We have transitioned into a B2B2C model, brand to bot to consumer. In this landscape, your technical SEO skills are now being repurposed for what we call semantic email optimization. In 2026, over 60% of the US population utilizes a personal AI agent, sophisticated digital assistants like Apple Intelligence 3.0 or Google Gemini Live, to manage their digital lives. These agents act as a high-fidelity firewall. They ingest thousands of data points every hour, and their primary job is to protect the user's time. If your brand is not machine-readable, you are effectively invisible. Imagine a busy professional in Phoenix named Ethan. It is 2026, and Ethan receives roughly 150 commercial emails every single day. Ethan never looks at his inbox. Instead, while he is making breakfast, his AI agent, which he has named Atlas, provides a verbal summary of his morning. Atlas says, "Ethan, you have 3 relevant updates today. Your preferred coffee roaster has a new batch of the Ethiopian beans you like, and I have verified they are in stock for local pickup. Your business insurance renewal is due, and I have flagged a 5% increase in the premium that you might want to review. Finally, the airline you use for work has a flash sale for your frequent route to Austin, but it expires in 2 hours. Do you want me to book the usual flight? In this scenario, Atlas has already deleted or archived 147 other emails. Those emails might have had beautiful designs, witty subject lines, and great offers, but they failed the machine-readable test. To ensure your brand makes it into Ethan's morning briefing, you must implement a step-by-step strategy for AI agent optimization. This starts with the universal adoption of JSON-LD 4.0 for email. Historically, schema markup was used to show a flight time or a tracking number at the top of a Gmail message. In 2026, structured data is the entire foundation of the message. You are no longer just sending an HTML document, you are sending a data packet that the AI can parse instantly. Let us look at a case study of a US electronics retailer called Voltec. In early 2026, they realized that while their human-centered open rates were declining, their bot-facilitated conversions were skyrocketing. They had completely redesigned their email architecture to lead with a hidden semantic manifest. This is a block of code at the very top of the email that tells the AI exactly what the email contains, the expiration date of the offer, the specific products mentioned, and a set of negotiation parameters. For example, the code might tell the AI, "This email offers a 10% discount on laptops, but if the user shows high intent, the brand is authorized to offer an additional 5% through a real-time API call." Potential outcomes for Voltec were a 300% increase in being included in AI briefings compared to their competitors who relied on traditional image-heavy newsletters. The step-by-step implementation for your brand involves moving away from layout-first design. You must define your core offer in a way that an LLM can understand without visual context. This means using highly descriptive, non-ambiguous tags. Instead of tagging a product as a summer top, you tag it with specific material, carbon footprint, shipping speed, and compatibility with the user's existing purchase history. This allows the AI agent to perform a cross-reference check. The agent compares your offer against the user's current needs and preferences. If the agent sees that the user is planning a trip to a tropical climate next month, your summer top suddenly becomes high priority. Furthermore, we are seeing the rise of the negotiable inbox. In 2026, elite US brands are providing what we call machine-to-machine API hooks within their emails. This allows Ethan's AI agent to actually talk back to the brand server before Ethan even knows the email exists. Atlas might see the offer for the coffee beans and ping the roaster's server to ask, "Can you offer Ethan a free sample of the new dark roast if he buys 2 bags today?" Historically, this kind of individual negotiation was impossible at scale. But with the 2026 infrastructure, these micro-negotiations happen in milliseconds. This is why your email must contain a set of dynamic logic gates. You are providing the AI agent with the tools to build a better deal for the consumer, which increases the likelihood of the agent recommending your brand. But there is a catch. To gain access to this level of interaction, your brand must have a high trust score within the AI ecosystem. In 2026, AI agents maintain a global reputation database of senders. If your brand has a history of sending deceptive data packets, such as claiming a product is in stock when it is not, the agents will blackball your domain across the entire network. This is the new spam filter, and it is far more punishing than the old ones. A single deceptive campaign can lead to a total blackout where no personal AI in the US will deliver your messages for months. Case studies show that transparency is the only viable strategy. Brands that provide honest, real-time data feeds within their emails are seeing a significant lift in long-term engagement. Imagine if you could see exactly how many AI agents are currently processing your emails versus how many humans are reading them. This is the new dashboard for 2026. We call it the bot-to-human ratio. If your ratio is too low, it means your content is too complex for the bots to summarize, or it lacks the structured data they need. If the ratio is too high, it might mean your content is technically perfect, but lacks the human emotional resonance needed to close the deal once the agent presents it. The goal is a perfect harmony where the bot handles the discovery and the human handles the final emotional choice. Step by step, you should begin auditing your emails for what we call semantic density. This is the ratio of useful, machine-readable information to filler text. In the 2026 Masterclass, we recommend a 70-30 split. 70% of your email should be high-density data and clear value propositions, while 30% is reserved for brand storytelling and visual flair. This ensures you satisfy the gatekeeper while still delighting the human. We are also seeing the emergence of the AI-friendly header. This is a text-only, non-visible section of the email specifically designed for the LLM to ingest. It contains a concise summary, much like an abstract for a scientific paper, which the AI uses to generate the lock screen briefing. As we master this machine-to-machine world, a new challenge emerges. With so much data being exchanged between brands and AI agents, how do we know the information is actually authentic? How do we prevent a malicious actor from spoofing a brand's AI manifest to trick Ethan's agent into making a fraudulent purchase? The answer lies in the most significant technical shift of the decade: the move toward blockchain-verified identity and zero-knowledge proofs in the inbox. In the next part, we are going to dive into the world of the cryptographic inbox. We will explore how the top 1% of US marketers are using the new verified identity protocol to eliminate phishing and ensure their emails are treated as high-priority, secure communications. We will also reveal the rise of tokenized incentives, where brands are literally paying users in microcurrency for their attention. If you thought a 10% discount was the only way to get a click, wait until you see how the 2026 consumer is being rewarded for every second they spend with your brand. The economics of the inbox have been completely rewritten, and if you are still using 2024 tactics, you are leaving massive amounts of value on the table. To understand the cryptographic inbox, we must first look at the trust crisis that peaked in late 2025. Historical trends show that as AI became more adept at spoofing human behavior, phishing attacks reached a level of sophistication where even the most tech-savvy consumers could not distinguish a legitimate brand email from a high-fidelity fraud. This led to the rapid development of the Cryptographic Identity Protocol, or CIP, which is the cornerstone of email marketing in 2026. In this environment, a standard verified badge is no longer enough to guarantee placement in the primary tab. The 2026 inbox requires a blockchain-backed handshake between the sender and the receiver. This is the technical evolution of the brand indicators for message identification we discussed earlier, but it moves the verification from a simple DNS record to a decentralized ledger. Imagine a consumer in Nashville named Chloe. Chloe is a freelance designer who is extremely protective of her digital security. When Chloe receives an email from her bank or a high-end retail brand, her mail app performs a background check that takes less than 10 milliseconds. It queries a global, decentralized ledger to verify that the cryptographic signature attached to the email matches the public key registered by the brand. If there is a mismatch, the email is not just sent to spam, it is vaporized. The mail app blocks the transmission entirely, protecting Chloe from even seeing the deceptive content. For you as a marketer, this means that your technical setup is now your most important asset. If you are not signing your emails on the ledger, your deliverability will effectively hit zero in 2026. The step-by-step implementation of this cryptographic layer begins with the migration to a Web3-enabled email service provider. These platforms are designed to handle the minting and verification of unique sender signatures for every campaign. You start by registering your brand identity on a major protocol, such as the Global Identity Ledger. This involves a one-time verification process that is much more rigorous than the old DKIM setups. You must provide legal proof of business existence and trademark ownership. Once verified, every email you send is automatically wrapped in a cryptographic envelope. Potential outcomes for brands that master this early include a 100% primary inbox placement rate among users with high security settings, as the mail apps treat verified cryptographic senders as trusted nodes in a network. This technical security is the foundation for the most disruptive trend of 2026: tokenized incentives and the attention economy. We have moved past the era of the generic 10% discount code. In 2026, attention is the most valuable currency in the world, and savvy US brands are now paying for it directly. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It is a sophisticated loyalty model based on proof of attention. Imagine Chloe opening an email from a sustainable clothing brand based in Portland. As she reads the content, her mail app, which has an integrated digital wallet, tracks her engagement. If Chloe spends at least 60 seconds reading the educational piece about the brand's new carbon-neutral manufacturing process, a smart contract is triggered. Chloe is instantly rewarded with a microfraction of a brand token. These tokens are liquid assets that can be used for future purchases, traded for other rewards, or even used to vote on the brand's upcoming designs. This creates a powerful psychological feedback loop. Chloe is no longer just a passive recipient of advertising. She is an active participant who is being compensated for her time and attention. Case studies from early 2026 show that brands using tokenized incentives have seen a 400% increase in dwell time. When users know their attention has a measurable value, they stop skimming and start absorbing. To execute this, you need to understand the mechanics of the attention smart contract. Step by step, you define the parameters of the reward within your email platform. For instance, you might set a threshold. If a user scrolls to the bottom of the email and interacts with at least one 3D product model, they receive 5 tokens. These tokens are held in a treasury and distributed automatically via the blockchain. The potential outcomes of this model include a massive reduction in customer acquisition costs. Instead of spending thousands of dollars on broad social media ads, you are reinvesting that capital directly into your existing subscribers, turning them into highly engaged brand advocates. However, the 2026 consumer is also more privacy conscious than ever before. This leads us to the implementation of zero-knowledge proofs in email marketing. A zero-knowledge proof, or ZKP, is a cryptographic method that allows a user to prove something is true without revealing the underlying data. This is a game changer for personalization. Imagine if Chloe wants to receive a discount that is only available to residents of Tennessee who are over the age of 21. In the past, she would have had to provide her address and birth date to the brand, creating a privacy risk. In 2026, Chloe's personal AI agent uses a ZKP to send a verification token to the brand. The token says, "I can confirm this user meets the geographic and age requirements, but I will not tell you her specific address or her exact age." The brand receives the proof, trusts it because it is cryptographically signed, and delivers the personalized offer. This allows for hyper-relevant marketing without the brand ever actually touching the user's sensitive personal data. For US marketers, this is the solution to the increasing complexity of state-by-level privacy laws like the CCPA and its successors. You get the data you need to personalize, but you have zero liability because you never hold the actual data. Step by step, your marketing team should be integrating ZK-Purity forms into your email templates. This involves using specialized API hooks that can communicate with the user's digital identity vault. Historical trends suggest that as privacy concerns grow, the brands that can offer personalized experiences without data intrusion will win the majority of the market share. We are seeing case studies where US finance and healthcare brands have regained consumer trust by moving all their data collection to a ZKP model. But even as we solve the trust and privacy issues, a new challenge is emerging from an unexpected direction. The massive amount of computing power required for AI-generated visuals, cryptographic verification, and blockchain-based rewards has led to a major backlash regarding the environmental impact of digital communication. In 2026, the concept of the green inbox is no longer a niche concern. It is a regulatory and consumer requirement. The carbon footprint of a single 2026-style email is significantly higher than that of a simple text message from 2024. This is leading to the rise of carbon-neutral emailing and the sustainability score. In the next part, we will explore how the major US mail providers are starting to penalize brands with high computational footprints, and how you can optimize your emails to be both high-tech and low-impact. We will dive into the new world of eco-design for the inbox and reveal how the top 1% of brands are using their sustainability metrics as a competitive advantage. If you think your customers don't care about the energy used to render your 3D models, wait until you see the new environmental labels that are being slapped on every email in the 2026 inbox. The battle for the inbox is no longer just about attention and trust. It is about the very future of the planet. The new environmental labels that are being slapped on every email in the 2026 inbox represent the first time the digital marketing world has had to pay a literal carbon tax on its output. The battle for the inbox is no longer just about attention and trust. It is about the very future of the planet. Historically, we treated the digital space as an infinite, weightless resource. But in 2026, the energy consumption of data centers, combined with the massive computational overhead of AI-driven rendering and blockchain verification, has forced a reckoning. Leading mail providers like Google, Apple, and Microsoft have implemented the Universal Environmental Labeling System. This means that every time an email lands in a user's folder, it is accompanied by a metadata tag indicating its estimated carbon footprint in milligrams. Imagine a consumer in Portland named Liam. Liam is a sustainability consultant who takes his personal carbon footprint seriously. In 2026, Liam's email app features a sustainability filter that he has set to strict. When a brand sends Liam a heavy, asset-rich email filled with 3D models and high-resolution video, a red warning label appears: high computational impact. Liam has even enabled a feature that automatically archives any email that exceeds a specific energy threshold. If your brand is sending bloated, unoptimized code, you are not just being ignored, you are being perceived as an environmental aggressor. Potential outcomes for brands that ignore this shift include a catastrophic drop in engagement among Gen Z and Gen Alpha demographics, who view digital waste with the same disdain as physical plastic pollution. The step-by-step reality of the green inbox begins with a fundamental audit of your email weight. In the 2026 masterclass, we move away from traditional file size metrics and toward computational load. This is a measure of how much CPU and GPU power is required to render your email on the end user's device. For example, a case study from a major US outdoor retailer showed that by switching from raster-based images like PNGs to highly optimized SVG paths and CSS-based gradients, they were able to reduce their computational load by 70%. This change did not just lower their environmental impact, it also allowed them to bypass the new eco-gatekeepers that now pre-screen emails for energy efficiency. To achieve this level of optimization, you must master the art of weightless design. Step by step, this involves 3 core technical shifts. First, you must implement server-side rendering for all dynamic elements. Instead of forcing Liam's phone to do the heavy lifting of generating a 3D model, your server does the work and streams a lightweight interactive proxy. Second, you must adopt the Green DNS protocol. This is a 2026 standard where your email assets are hosted on servers powered 100% by renewable energy. When the mail app scans your email, it verifies the Green DNS status and rewards you with a green leaf badge in the inbox. This badge has become a more powerful trust signal than the old verified blue checkmark. Third, you must implement frequency capping based on engagement decay. Historical trends show that sending more emails leads to diminishing returns, but in 2026, it also leads to a higher environmental penalty score. If you send 5 emails a week to a user who only opens 1, you are generating 4 units of digital waste. The leading US email platforms now track this ratio. If your waste-to-value ratio is too high, your sender reputation is penalized. Case studies from early 2026 suggest that brands which reduced their sending frequency by 20% but increased their content density saw a 15% lift in overall profitability due to better deliverability and higher brand affinity. Let us look at a case study of a tech startup in San Francisco called EcoSync. They realized that their automated onboarding sequences were contributing to a high carbon score because they were sending high-definition video tutorials to every new user. In 2026, they pivoted to a low-impact mode. When a user signs up, EcoSync system checks the user's device settings. If the user is in power-saving mode or has an eco-conscious profile, the system sends a text-based email with a link to a low-bandwidth version of the tutorial. If the user is on a high-speed, plugged-in device, they receive the full experience. This level of dynamic, environmental personalization resulted in a 30% increase in user retention, as customers felt the brand respected both their time and their values. Furthermore, we are seeing the rise of carbon offset incentives within the email itself. In 2026, elite brands are partnering with carbon removal platforms to offer a new kind of reward. Imagine if the email Liam receives from his favorite coffee brand includes a small footer that says, "Opening this email was 100% carbon neutral. We have pre-purchase carbon removal for every subscriber on this list." This is not just marketing fluff. It is a verifiable claim backed by a blockchain-linked certificate. This creates a psychological environment where Liam feels good about interacting with the brand. It removes the guilt associated with digital consumption and replaces it with a sense of shared purpose. But the green inbox is about more than just energy. It is about the sustainability of the human attention span. In 2026, we recognize that attention is a finite natural resource. Marketers who treat the inbox like a dumping ground for low-value content are being hit with what we call the cognitive pollution tax. This is not a literal government tax but a market-driven penalty. ISPs are starting to implement attention quotas. If a brand sends too much content that is consistently ignored by the US public, that brand's daily sending limit is throttled. This forces marketers to prioritize quality over quantity in a way that the industry has never seen before. Step by step, your strategy for 2026 must include an environmental impact statement for every campaign. This is a short internal document that calculates the projected energy cost versus the projected business value. If the energy cost is too high, the campaign is sent back for optimization. We are seeing the emergence of a new role in the US marketing agency world: the Digital Sustainability Officer. This person's job is to ensure that every byte sent is necessary, and that every interaction provides a dividend of value that justifies its energy consumption. As we look toward the final frontier of email marketing in 2026, it is clear that the technical, psychological, and environmental threads are all weaving together. We have mastered the AI gatekeepers, we have secured the cryptographic identity, and we have optimized for the planet. But there is one final, terrifyingly powerful trend that is set to redefine the very nature of human communication. It is the move from personalized marketing to predictive neuroengagement. We are no longer just guessing what Liam wants. We are beginning to understand the very neural pathways that dictate his choices. In the final part of this masterclass, we are going to explore the rise of neurocopywriting and the integration of biometric feedback loops in the inbox. We will reveal how the most advanced brands in 2026 are using subtle rhythmic and visual triggers to align their messages with the user's brainwaves. This is the ultimate level of the game, the point where marketing and neuroscience become indistinguishable. If you thought the trends we have covered so far were intense, wait until you see how the 2026 inbox is literally beginning to read your mind. We are moving into the era of the subconscious inbox, and the data coming out of the latest US clinical trials is going to change the way you think about a subject line forever. To read the mind of the consumer, we must first understand the concept of neural resonance. In 2026, the elite tier of US marketing has moved beyond the psychological and into the neurological. Historical trends show that as digital fatigue reached its zenith in late 2025, the human brain began to develop a literal immunity to standard persuasive copy. The subconscious mind now filters out traditional calls to action before they ever reach the prefrontal cortex. This has given rise to neurocopywriting, a method of structuring language that aligns with the rhythmic firing of neurons in specific emotional states. When we talk about the subconscious inbox, we are talking about emails that are designed to be felt as much as they are read. Imagine a professional in Miami named Sophia. It is 2026, and Sophia is an architect who balances a high-stress career with a commitment to wellness. Sophia wears a sophisticated biometric ring that is synced with her personal AI agent. Throughout the day, this ring monitors her heart rate variability, her skin temperature, and her cortisol levels. In 2026, the leading email service providers have secured permission access to these biometric APIs for specific trusted brands. This is not about surveillance, it is about biosyncing. Sophia receives an email from a high-end travel brand she follows. But the brand does not just send it at a random time. They wait for a moment where Sophia's biometric data indicates she is in a state of high stress but has just entered a period of relative inactivity. Essentially, she is looking for an escape but is too tired to search for one. The potential outcomes for this level of precision are staggering. By delivering a message that matches the user's current physiological state, brands are seeing engagement rates that were thought impossible in 2024. The step-by-step implementation of a neuro-aligned campaign begins with a process called baseline neural mapping. You analyze the historical data of your subscribers to understand their unique engagement rhythms. Do they respond better to high-energy, fast-paced language in the morning? Or do they prefer slow cadence, contemplative storytelling in the evening? In 2026, your AI-orchestrated engine automatically adjusts the syntax of your email to match this rhythm. For Sophia, the email uses longer, flowing sentences and soft visual tones to mirror the relaxation she is currently seeking. This brings us to the second pillar of the subconscious inbox: haptic resonance. In 2026, most US consumers interact with their email via haptic-enabled devices, including smartphones, watches, and even smart clothing. We are now seeing the use of rhythmic haptics integrated into the email body. As Sophia scrolls through the travel brand's email, her device emits subtle, nearly imperceptible micro-vibrations that are timed to her own resting heart rate. This creates a state of entrainment, where the user physically synchronizes with the content. Case studies from luxury retailers in 2026 indicate that haptic entrainment can increase brand recall by over 60%. The user does not just remember the offer, they remember the feeling of calm they felt while reading the email. To execute this, marketers must understand the three specific neural triggers of 2026. The first is the pattern interrupt. In an inbox filled with AI-generated noise, a pattern interrupt is a deliberate break in the expected flow of information. This might be a sudden shift in color palette halfway through the email or a sentence that uses an unexpected but deeply evocative metaphor. The goal is to force the brain out of its automated filtering mode and into a state of active processing. The second trigger is the sensory anchor. This involves using descriptive language that activates the sensory cortex. When Sophia reads about the scent of cedar in the mountains or the cool mist of a waterfall, her brain fires the same neurons it would if she were actually experiencing those things. In 2026, we enhance this with high-fidelity spatial audio clips embedded in the email that play only when the user hovers over specific sensory words. The third trigger is the social cohesion signal. Humans are biologically wired to seek community. In 2026, we use dynamic social proof that updates in real time within the email. Instead of a static testimonial, Sophia sees a live feed of how many people in Miami are currently looking at this exact travel destination, or how many people in her specific professional circle have recently booked a trip. This activates the brain's tribal security center, making the decision to buy feel like a safe, socially reinforced action. Potential outcomes for brands that master these three triggers include a massive increase in brand authority and a reduction in the sales cycle from weeks to minutes. However, we must address the ethical framework of the subconscious inbox. In 2026, the U.S. Federal Trade Commission has implemented strict guidelines on what they call cognitive autonomy. You are required to be transparent about the use of biometric triggers. This is why the most successful brands are those that prioritize the privacy-first handshake. You must explicitly ask Sophia for permission to sync with her wellness data, and in return, you promise to only use that data to provide a better, more restful experience. Historical trends suggest that users are more than willing to trade data for a significant reduction in digital noise and an increase in personal relevance. Step by step, the move toward the subconscious inbox involves a transition from traditional A/B testing to biofeedback testing. You are no longer just measuring clicks, you are measuring the physiological response to your content. This is done through opt-in panels of users who provide biometric data during their interaction with your campaigns. You might find that a specific shade of blue in your header image consistently lowers the heart rate of your audience, making them more receptive to a long-term investment offer. Or you might find that certain words trigger a minor stress response, causing users to close the email faster. By 2026, this data is integrated directly into the creative process, allowing for the development of neuro-optimized assets. Now, imagine the ultimate synthesis of everything we have covered in this masterclass. A brand that uses an autonomous campaign engine to deliver a cryptographically verified, green-certified, spatial email that is neuro-aligned to the user's current heart rate. This is the pinnacle of communication. It is a world where the brand is no longer a disruptor in the user's life, but a supportive partner. This is how you survive the silent inbox. You don't scream louder. You whisper more effectively. You don't fight the AI gatekeeper. You provide it with the high-density data it needs to see your value. You don't track the user. You empower them through zero-party data and zero-knowledge proofs. The year 2026 has redefined the email marketer as a neural architect. You are designing experiences that live in the most intimate spaces of your customer's mind and body. The brands that fail to see this shift are already becoming obsolete. They are shouting into a void that has been closed by the AI firewall. But for those who embrace the technical and psychological shifts we have explored, the future is incredibly bright. You have the tools to build relationships that are deeper and more profitable than anything we saw in the previous decade. But as powerful as these trends are, they are only the beginning of a much larger transformation. The inbox as we know it is merely the first layer of a new digital identity that every U.S. citizen is currently building. As we move closer to 2027, we are seeing the emergence of the post-channel framework, where the boundaries between email, social, and search disappear entirely into a single unified stream of intelligence. In our next series, we are going to dive deep into the autonomous brand identity and how to prepare your business for the era of the decentralized web. We will explore how your brand can exist without a website, living entirely within the AI-driven interfaces of your customers. The rules of the game are about to change again, and you need to be ready for the moment when the inbox finally evolves into its ultimate form. We are entering the era of the digital soul, and the data you collect today is the foundation for the kingdom you will build tomorrow.